Hello everyone, I am Dead Knight and this is In It to Win It. We have the full United in Stormwind set out and we're going to be talking class by class about the best, worst, and most interesting card for each class. So don't forget to like and subscribe and get updates on the channel. And in this section we're going to talk about the Mage class. So for United in Stormwind, they are pushing fire really hard. Almost every card in this set for Mage specifically talks about fire spells. So um, what is the best, worst, and most interesting? Uh, for me, the best is definitely Ignite. So not only is this the cornerstone for the fire spells in this set because it is going to be regenerating itself, but just by itself, even if you didn't use any of this other fire gimmicks that are coming out, it is just a great card. So what it does is for 2 mana, it deals 2 damage to any target and then shuffles another Ignite back into your deck that deals an additional damage. So if any of you have played World of Warcraft back in the day especially, they had something called Rolling Ignites where multiple mages would throw fire spells, trigger Ignite, which would deal this stacking fire damage, and then every time they would get a crit, it would keep the Ignite, it refreshed the Ignite and add more damage to it. So they did this thing called Rolling Ignites. So they really captured that concept well in this card, I think, because it goes back, rolls back into your deck and deals more damage. So you're just constantly dealing additional damage. So why is this card great? So if all you had was Ignite and you didn't do fire gimmicks, you have a constant source of versatile damage early in the game that gets better late game. So when this gets shuffled back into your deck, pretty much every time you draw it, it's good. The second time you draw it, it's 3 damage for 2 mana, which is pretty much your base damage, but it doesn't do anything else. And then more and more gets better and better. So I really like that versatility. Also, you've got some potential. You got some combo potential with the Gadget Sand Auctioneer or the new Elemental that they printed, which draws you a card whenever you play a fire spell. So if you can blow through your deck, you can basically play Ignite and draw another Ignite. If you're talking Wild and you got Sorcerer's Apprentice out, you've got an auto win, just firing out 0 mana Ignites and forever until your opponent dies. So even without that potential, it's great to be able to always have burn in your deck somewhere, especially burn that can go face, which if you've watched some of my other videos, it's been a huge problem for Mage since they got rid of Frostbolt and Pyroblast. But now we have that, and it doesn't matter what archetype you play, Ignite is usually going to be useful in it. So really like this card. Card I don't like is definitely Celestial Ink Set. So this is a 2-cost weapon that is a 0/2, so can't do anything with it by itself. When you play 5 mana worth of spells, it reduces the cost of a spell in your hand by 5. So, first glance you look at this and you say, oh man, this is awesome. On turn 2, I play Celestial Ink Set. On turn 3 and 4, I play cheap spells. And then on turn 5, I play a Mask of Cthulhu for 2 mana, or I play some sort of Haymaker spell for really cheap. Except that is a very rare situation. So what it can also do is reduce the cost of your Ruined Orb from 2 to 0, or reduce the cost of your Font of Power from 1 to 0. So you might do all this work to play these spells and then reduce the cost of a small spell, which doesn't really impact your game. It doesn't give you that, it doesn't make up for the fact that you spent 2 mana to do nothing on your second turn. So, the times that this works out exactly how you want it to, I think are not going to be as frequent as we think. So what you really need to do, instead of having cheap spells, you need to have all spells that cost 5 or more, so that you play this one spell for 5 mana and reduce another expensive spell. But even then, you have two potential swing turns where you can play a big spell for free or for cheap. But there's a lot of setup that goes into this, and because you don't get to control how this happens or when it happens, I don't think it's worth wasting that early turn to get. So it's too situational, it's too random, and not in a good way. And I don't see this card really reaching the potential that Blizzard was hoping. As far as most interesting, the most interesting has to be the new questline Sorcerer's Gambit. So let's start with the downside. The downside is you have to play 9 spells before this go off, and the spells have to be Fire, Frost, and Arcane. And the intermittent rewards as you're doing this, they do help you accomplish the quests. The first intermittent reward is drawing a spell. The second intermittent reward is discovering a spell. So those are going to help you accomplish the quest. But even still, you're making plays to satisfy the quest, and you're not making plays to satisfy the game. So you're going to the way quest is designed, because you have to play specific things at specific times. It means that you're not going to always be responding to what's happening in the game, and that is a problem. So, also you're looking at what these cards are doing. There are good cards for Fire, Frost, and Arcane. Probably less so for Frost right now, but they're there. So you don't necessarily need crucial redesigning of your deck to hit it, but it's just because of the sequencing, it's very awkward and difficult. The upside is that you get a minion that gives you spell damage +3 for the rest of the game, even if it's removed. So this lets you set up some pretty crazy combos, especially if you have something like Imprisoned Phoenix, which, because it goes dormant and pops up, when that guy pops up, you got 5 spell damage and a full bank of mana crystals. So the potential upside is definitely combo-y, where you can set up some pretty wild combos once you hit the quest. But there's just so much is going in to accomplishing this quest, and it's going to be really awkward to complete, and you might have to make some questionable plays to complete it. So I think it's going to be really difficult to make work, but it's really interesting the way they designed it, because having 3 spell damage for the rest of the game that your opponent can't do anything about is a pretty exceptional bonus. It's just whether you can make it work is the thing, and right now it doesn't look good, but the potential is there. So I'm really interested in how this card shapes out. What do you think about Mage? What do you think about the fire mechanic they're pushing? Tell me what you think the best card of the set is, what I got right, what I got wrong. Don't forget to subscribe, leave respectful comments below, and tune in next time.